The Marty and Laura Show is brought to you by Veterinary Village. With locations throughout Wisconsin, Veterinary Village is dedicated to enhancing the quality of animal and human lives, today and into the future. All right, you guys, welcome to the Marty and Laura Show. I am Laura.
And I happen to be Marty.
Just
by coincidence.
Every single time.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
By process of elimination, we now know who's who.
Yeah, but my real name is Marthina, and no one can seem to pronounce that. For many years, they could pronounce Marthina, and in the last 5 years, it's dropped the H out of it, and everybody wants to call me Martina. I'm like, no, there's an H. My mother gave me an H in my name.
So do I get to say Marthina when, like, I'm frustrated and I don't understand things that you're telling me? Marthina
Lee. Marthina Lee is what my mother used to say.
Lee, please explain this to me better.
Yep.
Okay,
that's it.
Fantastic. Love this. So hopefully this will not be the episode that I have to use your full name to explain to me allergies. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable on this one.
We're doing a real high-level look at allergies today.
Yes.
We're going to go deep in more detail, but today is just the 30,000-foot view.
Excellent. And we have sort of touched in passing on allergies a couple different times on the show, but we thought this was a really good and important topic because you just told me about a vet that told you has 4,000 dogs on Apical. I can't even imagine that.
So. I don't know if he was kidding or if he was serious, but there are a lot of dogs with allergies, And part of the problem is that allergies have become easier to treat because we have better choices. And I think people are just not taking them seriously when they decide who they're going to breed. So dogs with allergies need to be seriously considered for where they stand in a breeding program.
100%. Okay, so for the average schmo out there with a dog that just happens to have a dog that has allergies, let's talk about the types of allergies that this person could have.
So the one that's most common, that we see the most of at a veterinary clinic, are going to be atopic dermatitis, atopy. There's an equivalent in humans. So it's basically allergies to pollens and molds. And the outcomes of those are typically going to be chewing at the feet. That's the most common thing that we see. Chewing at the feet. Chewing and licking and slurping and chewing at the feet. And it's really a big problem because it's super annoying to clients. Some of the dogs will end up with ear infections. Some of the dogs will end up with staph infections on their skin. But the most common thing that we see are the dogs coming in with rust-colored toes. It's usually a matching set. It can be all 4 feet, or if it's going to be 2, it's going to typically be the front 2 or the back 2, not the same side. So I think that's a really important place to start, is people don't really understand that that's an allergy. They think their dog has this habit, or they just are, whatever. But I remember being a kid and our neighbor dog was a poodle, and that dog would lick and chew and bite and scratch at her feet, and they would yell at her all the time. And do you know what happens when you yell at your dog when they're biting and licking and chewing at their feet? They leave the room, and they continue to chew and bite and lick at their feet. They don't stop, and it's like not scratching a mosquito bite. You wake up in the middle of the night scratching it, and you really can't do much about it because it's really uncomfortable.
Okay. So allergies to mold and dust, did you say? Mold and
pollen.
Okay, so kind of dust.
Yeah, and there are definitely dust allergies as well. Mostly it's dust mites. So there are little mites that live in your dust. And that's what a lot of people are allergic to as well. But people don't have the same kind of symptoms to the molds, pollens, and dust mites that dogs do. People tend to have respiratory, runny nose, runny eyes, sneezing, that type of thing. But dogs have the mast cells that we have in our respiratory tract. They have them in their feet. So that's what the belief is. And things have kind of changed over the years. Like I said, when I was a kid, so 60 years ago, I remember this dog chewing at her feet. But things have really changed in how we perceive this. And so some of the things that we used to think were purely from inhaling the allergens, now we believe there's a component of contact to it as well. So if the dog goes out and walks around in the grass, they contact enough of the pollen and the stuff in the grass that they come in and then they're allergic. So it's not quite the same as it used to be believed.
Well, science, we learn new things. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
beauty of science.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the first category. What's our next category that we're going to talk about?
Food.
Okay.
Food allergies are also really interesting, and some dogs manifest those as being ear infections and skin problems,
Hmm.
and some dogs manifest them as GI problems, vomiting and diarrhea.
Right.
If it's vomiting and diarrhea, it typically occurs fairly shortly after they ingest the food. If it's more of the skin component, the allergies in skin, it it's going to be constant because that dog is continuing to eat the same food, and so the dog is going to continue to have that allergic reaction. And you may not put two and two together because it didn't initiate
Mm-hmm.
shortly after a meal happened, or it initiated sort of slowly and gradually. And one day you look at the dog's ear and go, "Ew, you smell bad and you're scratching and it's icky." And what's interesting about the allergies that we see to food with ears is it's sometimes just one ear. And that's even harder to explain to a client is why is my dog's right ear bad and the left ear is fine if it's an allergy? Shouldn't they both be affected? And the answer is, hmm, yes, I don't have a good answer for that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and food allergies are broken down as I understand it again to like an allergy to a protein or an allergy to a grain or
carb,
an allergy to
yeah,
something else.
carbohydrate. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of theories on lots of dogs are allergic to this or a lot of dogs are allergic to that. And again, we don't have really good information, really good studies on these because it is really hard to chase down some of these food allergies. And some of the things that are in the diet are so ubiquitous in every single food that it can be really, really hard to do a study to figure out what that dog is allergic to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we will have upcoming segments on how to
Yes.
diagnose these, upcoming segments on how to treat these. So we're not going to go down that path tonight. We're
Right.
just going to really
Right.
try and do the
Kind of
overview.
trying to get the understanding. So we've got the contact, right? And then the food, and then what is another category that we like to think about?
Well, there's other contact allergies besides the grass and the molds and the pollen. So I don't want to lose that. Is it can be a wool blanket. It can be the carpet powder you put on the carpet because the dog smells bad. And the more carpet powder you put down, the worse the dog's skin gets. And the worse the dog's skin gets, the more carpet powder you put down. And
Mhm.
so that becomes a vicious cycle. So those are more of a contact allergy. And those, again, are sometimes a little tricky to chase down because if your dog's allergic to your carpet, you have carpet in your whole house. How do you get rid of the carpet? And it's hard. I actually had one person with a bulldog that replaced all the grass in their yard with artificial turf,
Oh wow.
and it fixed the dog,
Mm.
but that's no cheap proposition either.
No.
So there's a lot of stuff, and you don't want to spend all the money replacing the grass and then find out it didn't fix the problem.
Mm.
So
Mm.
there's that. Then
Very.
we have other kinds of things like flea bite allergies and other insect bites. So, a lot of people know about bee stings, and dogs can have allergic reactions to bee stings like we can,
Mhm.
but it can be something, some people are super reactive to things like mosquito bites.
Mm.
Some people get a little welt, other people just, they totally blow up. So, it depends, but flea allergies are again kind of tricky because it can take only one or two flea bites a week to make the dog's skin bad and the cat's skin bad. And that's the one thing that we see most commonly in cat allergies are going to be either food allergies or flea bite allergies.
Mm.
And if you only have two flea bites a week, the population of fleas on your cat or your dog may be very, very small. And
Mm.
so you may not identify it as being a flea problem. But again, that's where your veterinarian can come into play, is that can be really helpful in having the veterinarian take a look at the cat or the dog. And so if you need to make an appointment to go in with a skin problem for your dog, don't clean the ear the night before you go. Don't give the dog the bath the night before you go. Take them in gross and stinky and with their ear gooey and all the stuff, not because you want your veterinarian to think badly of you, but because you're washing away some of the evidence. So
Mm,
if you bathe them and then trot in the door and you're like, well, I bathed her last night, great. It's sort of like washing down a crime scene.
mm,
We
mm.
miss a lot of information. So I would just suggest that you take them in all their disgusting, yucky,
All their
gory
glory.
stuff. Yeah. Then we have things like vaccine reactions.
Mhm.
That's an allergic reaction. So essentially, there are four types of allergic reactions: type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. That gets kind of complicated. We don't need to go into those. But type 1 are the ones that are the most serious anaphylactic reactions, where, like a human that has a severe peanut allergy or a human that has a severe bee sting allergy,
Mhm.
that their airway can swell shut and they can get into trouble. So they have to have their EpiPen or their nasal epinephrine spray or whatever. So those are the really, 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 really bad allergic reactions. And fortunately, we rarely see those in dogs. It can happen every now and then with a vaccine. Maybe we see one of those every couple of years in our practice
Okay.
where we give the injection. I remember doing one vaccination in the exam room with a lab puppy, and the puppy was zooming around the room and making all this noise. And I vaccinated him and put him on the floor, and I'm talking to the client. So we're engaged in this conversation, and suddenly the room got very quiet. And I turned around and I looked, and the puppy had collapsed on the floor. Okay, that's a type 1, and that's bad. So those require pretty immediate responses. So this is why vaccinating your own dogs at home can be a bad idea, especially if you do it on Sunday afternoon when your vet clinic is closed. You want to do it if you must vaccinate your own dog. Make sure you're using really good quality vaccine, and make sure you're vaccinating when your vet clinic is available in case there is some allergic reaction. Now,
Mhm.
we've also had some occasional dogs that have had this really strange vaccine reaction. Normally, it's going to be either anaphylactic, where they swell, they
Mhm.
collapse, they get shocky, they're in big trouble pretty quickly,
Mhm.
or they'll end up with like 45 minutes to an hour later, their face will swell, but they breathe okay. But lately, we've seen some vaccines that have gotten too cold in storage or in shipping, and we've had a local reaction over the injection site where the dogs are very, very painful. So you can see this huge array of
Mhm.
different allergic reactions. So you can see from what we've talked about: food, pollen, mold,
Mhm.
insect bites,
Mhm.
contact allergies. Every one of these has a different set of symptoms. And so that's where it gets to be kind of confusing is, well, how do you know this is an allergic reaction? Well, that's a really good question because they don't all look the same. They don't all act the same. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. But there's there's chickens and turkeys and pheasants out there too, because we see all kinds of stuff. So it's not just one typical reaction that we can classify as, oh, that's an allergy.
Mhm.
So I think it's important that people know that there are a lot of different things that this can look like.
And do dogs and or cats have like medication allergies? Right? Like I have a long list of medications I'm not allowed to take and I have to tell it to the doctor every time I go
Mhm.
and all that. Is that a thing with dogs and cats?
Sure is. Yeah, sure is. Penicillin and amoxicillin, Clavamox, those drugs
Mm.
are the most likely to have that kind of immediate reaction where there's difficulty breathing. But we can see other allergic reactions as well. And then, where do you cross the line between an allergic reaction and an adverse event? So there's sort of this continuum as well. Um, and every single drug on the veterinary market, every single drug on the veterinary market, even if it's not given orally, even if it's given by injection, by whatever route, will list as a side effect vomiting and diarrhea. Because dogs like to have vomiting and diarrhea. They don't really mind. They don't really care.
Right.
So, they'll vomit and they'll be okay with it. It's not like us where we really freak out about it. They just, vomit and then they're good. But there's so many reasons for vomiting that it could be that they ate, a dead bird in the yard, or they were in the car and they got car sick or whatever. So vomiting and diarrhea are like right up there at the top of the list on every single drug listed on the veterinary side, cats and dogs. So Again, we have that. Then we can see urticaria and angioedema, which are hives basically.
Mm.
Those again, those don't happen very often in dogs. I've never seen a cat with hives. They don't happen very often in dogs, but they can. And again, it gets pretty dramatic. One of my technicians had a white boxer that ended up with some kind of an allergic reaction, and because you're a white boxer and you get he had red welts all over his body and collapsed and was really sick. So
Ugh.
yeah, it can be dramatic.
I will tell you, hives, it's got to be a ridgeback thing. I showed a ton of ridgebacks, and I swear, you just look at them funny and they're like, boing!
Yeah,
Usually on a very important day of the dog show.
of course.
Like,
Of
honestly,
course.
honestly, I sincerely believe that ridgebacks have stress hives. Like, if they get uncomfortable, they give themselves hives.
Yeah.
I
And
just,
that's not hard to imagine that, people can work themselves up into things
mhm,
like that too.
mhm,
And then there's allergic conjunctivitis, which is runny eyes, you
mhm,
know,
mhm,
inflammation, and there's allergic bronchitis. And again, those are not very common, but they happen. And most dogs with allergic conjunctivitis have something else like an ear infection or a skin breakout of some kind. But the allergic bronchitis, we hardly ever see allergies causing asthma and allergic bronchitis in dogs. If we see it, it's going to be in cats, and it's only slightly more often than dogs.
mhm.
So there's this, just an enormous array of all these things. So almost any symptom that your pet could have,
Could be an
we can say, well, that could be an allergic reaction, could be allergies, could be something else. Your doctor is going to look at you and say, well, it could be a virus, it could be hormones, it could be an allergic reaction. So those are the kinds of varied responses that we can see. So that's where it gets to be kind of challenging. Now, some things are pretty obvious. If a dog walks into my exam room and they're there for a wellness visit and it's a white dog or a golden retriever, a light colored dog, whatever, and I look at their feet and they're all rust colored and red and,
Mhm.
you know, moist between the toes, and it's clear the dog's been licking at their feet, chewing at their feet. And I say, so your dog must have some allergies. I see he's chewing at his feet. And they go, no. Okay, really? Trust me. If your dog has red feet, they've been chewing at their feet. You just may not have seen him do it because, like I said, you taught him to be a closet licker. You taught him to leave the room when they do it, but it doesn't mean that they don't have allergies. And the other thing that I talk to my staff a lot about is they'll come out of the exam room and they'll be ready for me to go in and see a patient, and they'll say, so the dog is itching. You can't see an itch. You can tell me the dog is scratching, licking, biting, chewing, rolling, doing something that indicates that they probably are itchy, and that technical term is pruritus, Pruritis. And people have pruritus too, but a person can say, I'm itchy. A dog cannot say, I'm itchy. So you have to describe the symptom and the response to the symptom. Don't tell me the dog is itchy. Tell me what the client is seeing
Right.
that tells you that the dog probably is itchy. And I think that's really an important distinction because it
Yeah.
does make a difference
Yeah. And I
when we're
think
trying to figure it out.
it's good for us when as pet owners, when we're going into the vet, it helps if we give them clear, specific language to describe what's happening with our pet. So I think that's really important.
Right. So take video of your dog when it's biting, licking, scratching, chewing,
Mm.
whatever it's doing. Take photos of skin lesions.
Mm.
If you see something unusual, take a photograph of it because it may not look like that by the time you get to the vet clinic. One of the thing about dogs and cats is they can get pustules, which are like little pimples, little whiteheads or yellow
Yeah.
heads,
Yeah.
and those in a person will last, long enough to go to prom and get home again. But in the dog, those pustules rupture really quickly.
I
So
was
take photos.
I was just going to ask you it's got to be a specific grass allergy. I've
Mhm.
only seen it a few times, but dogs out running in tall grass, usually like summer into fall, not with, not foxtails, but just like tall, weedy, wacky grass of some kind would come and they would get these like pustules, like green spots only
Yeah,
on their stomach or like underneath
mm,
their armpits or something.
yeah. Yeah, and we see a particular kind of lesion the third week of May every year. The third week of May every year in Wisconsin, we'll have dogs that come in with these target lesions on their bellies where their skin is really thin and the
Seen
hair
those.
is really sparse. And
Mhm,
they'll have these little target, little red dots. They
mhm,
may have one or two, but they may have a dozen.
mhm,
And clients totally freak out. They're like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And
mhm.
so they'll come in and be like, "Yeah, that's a no-see-um," which is a kind of a gnat. And they're called no-see-ums because you
Ah,
cannot see them. They're just these little tiny bugs that buzz around. And I mean, they literally are there for 1 week in Wisconsin, and that's it. And it never is any other time of the year. And then we don't see them again. So I usually put a picture on Facebook and say, "Okay, it's no-see-um week. So you don't have to call us 800 times and ask us what this is. This is just a no-see-um."
oh
So
gosh.
it's kind of interesting. But we
That.
can see so many different kinds of adverse reactions to drugs.
Mhm,
We've had dogs that have come in that have had a certain antibiotic and their platelet count will drop and then they'll
mm,
bruise under the skin.
mm,
And I've had clients call me and say, "I think my dog has measles." Well, dogs don't get measles. So tell me what you're seeing. So this is where I'm saying, like
mm,
we just said a minute ago, is describe the symptom, photograph, video, get
mm,
that information. Because honestly, when you get to the vet, it doesn't matter if it's a cough, it doesn't matter what it is.
mhm,
Catch it when you see it. You have a phone in your pocket. Everyone is carrying around this wonderful recording device.
mhm.
I forget, sometimes my staff forgets that this is actually a phone. They think it's a computer, but this is,
It is
we
a
used to talk
computer.
on
It is a
phone,
tiny computer in
but
your pocket.
a lot of staff don't talk on the phone anymore because they text, they email, they Snapchat, they
Mhm,
TikTok, they do what, but they don't use it as a device that you talk on. So take the device out of your pocket, whatever you want to call it, and get video, get photos, capture that information. And you can either send it to the vet clinic if they ask for it before your appointment, but at least take it with you and have it available. But don't send your veterinarian all these Facebook messages with all your videos. Don't
don't text
Facebook
them at
call
2 o'clock in the
them. Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Just record the information. So when you get to the vet clinic, you've got it because it's going to look different when you get there. And have it organized in a folder so that you don't have to go scrolling through
Mm,
500 pictures of your kids or your grandkids or your whatever. So just be kind of thoughtful and organized. So when you get to the veterinary clinic, you've got this level of
mm,
organization that is helpful and efficient and can save you a lot of time, and your cost of your diagnostics may be minimized
mm.
because they can see what you see. So if you saw something that you weren't sure if it was a flea or not, take a photo of it. Just get that information. Well, I'm sorry, but those are things that you can do. So when people say it costs me a lot of money to go to the vet, well, this is one of the things you can do to make your visits more efficient is you may get this all done in one short visit instead of three long visits because you collected everything. If you're
Or
taking a picture of something that is hard to tell the size of it, put a quarter next to it, put a nickel next to it. You can't put a penny next to it anymore because they don't make pennies anymore. Put a ruler next to it. Do something that
mhm,
gives you a scale, a
mhm,
Bic pen. I don't care what it is, but everybody knows how big a Bic pen is. Everybody knows how big a nickel is.
mhm,
So use that as your yardstick, as your measuring device, so that again, those are bits of information that can be really helpful. When you go in and you want to talk about a food allergy or whatever,
mm.
take a label, cut the label off the bag, or take a photo of the label, or have the website on your phone so we can look. Don't say, "Well, I don't know. It comes in a green and blue bag, and I don't really remember what it's called." And then they look at
These
the
are
kids
real
and the kids are like,
conversations, right,
these
Marty?
are real
Yeah,
conversations.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm
the kids usually know what the name of the food is. The father never does. The mother sometimes does, but they order everything off of Amazon or Chewy, and so then they have to look through their whole Amazon order to find it. You're
saying.
like, this is really not an efficient way for us to spend our time.
Mhm,
So get all your stuff together. If you're using a supplement, if you're using
yeah.
a natural product, if you're using anything that you bought that wasn't from your vet clinic,
Mm,
get all that assembled together all in one neat little package. When you truck in, now you've got everything together, and now you can go boom, 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 boom through the appointment, and it will save you money. Honestly, it will save you money. It will save your veterinarian's relationship with you because we all need to have efficient use of our time.
Doggett simplifies the puppy buying journey by connecting families with the perfect breed and responsible, health-verified breeders. They are the only breeder marketplace that verifies health clearances and responsible breeding practices. Through their personalized puppy matcher tool and matchmaker services, they educate and guide buyers every step of the way, ensuring a seamless process and a perfect match for their lifestyle. From initial breed consultation to introductions with top breeders, Doggett makes responsible puppy ownership easy and stress-free.
One of the things that I think people sometimes out here in dog owner land, pet owner land, we don't think of our animals as patients the way we would think of ourselves as patients.
Right. Right.
And I think that we are accustomed to going to the doctor and telling them what medications we take because we take them every day. We know, or we have a picture of the bottle, or we know. And that we should understand that our pets should have the same type of,
Mhm.
folder in your phone. Like, I feed them this dog food, I give them this medication, I give
Right.
them fancy supplement.
Right.
And plus, I always feed them some, powdered elkhorn or whatever it is that's happy and popular today. And then you need to tell them everything at the vet clinic, because a lot of times that random mushroom thing that you're feeding them because it's supposed to cure cancer is part of the problem.
Right. Right. And we don't have my chart for dogs. So
Right?
when you go to
Who's
your
going to
physician,
invent that? Marty? Chop chop. Marthina.
well, I don't think it needs to be invented. I mean, my chart is part of Epic, and that's a Wisconsin-based company. But veterinarians are all very independent people, and we're all running on different software, and we don't have insurance, so we don't have the kind of consistency with codes of this is the code that they put in for this diagnosis, and this is the code they put in for this test. There's no consistency one vet clinic to the next. So you're not going to go to one vet and have them be able to pull up records from another veterinary clinic. So if you're going to get a second opinion, if you're going to change veterinarians, if you're going to do any of those things, get all your records together. And I'll tell you, we've had clients come in with literally, no lie, 230 pages of record. And now that we have AI, we can run that through the AI. If you get the records to your veterinarian ahead of time and they do AI, you can run that through AI. And now 230 pages of records turns into two. And again, I don't have to repeat tests. I don't have to, question things. I don't have to ask you questions that you're like, okay, I told the receptionist and I told the vet assistant this information. Why am I telling you the third time? Because it's all neatly packaged into a little deal. So think about what you can do. If you're seeing things, write a timeline. When he was 6 months old, this started. When he was a year old, this started. When he was 4 years old, this started. And it's just so much better for the communication that I want to make people's veterinary visits better, more interesting, more efficient, a better relationship.
Better
And
outcomes
you
for
can
the
do that.
dog.
Yeah.
Better outcomes for the
Yeah.
dog. But I think, it's funny you say that. Like, I always think of every time if I have a problem, and I'm not going to run to the vet unless I have a problem. And I always think of it that way. Like, I saw this and then I saw this, and like in a timeline. And
Hmm.
that it's funny that you said that. So that's a great idea. Great pro tip, you guys. Keep
Well,
time
and
if you've got a
a
problem.
lot of dogs, yeah, a lot of dogs with food allergies will start when they're really young,
Mhm.
but typically mold and pollen allergies don't happen until the second summer. Not the first summer. It almost always has to be a second summer because the first summer they didn't have exposure long enough to have an allergic reaction. So this is where the timeline really becomes critical when you're trying to figure out, is this a food allergy? Is this a pollen or mold allergy? Is this, what is this? And then keep track of all the things that you've changed in the household. What shampoo did you change to? Did you get a new blanket on your bed? Did you, put a new blanket in the dog crate? All these things are really key to dissecting apart this stuff, and
Free soap.
it can be really critical in getting an accurate diagnosis, getting the right treatment. You can't treat what you don't have a diagnosis for very effectively. So if you don't want to see the dermatologist and spend $8 gajillion on them, work with your regular veterinary clinic to do these kinds of bits and pieces of things that what food they've had ever in their lifetime. If I want to put a dog on a food elimination diet and they've been on 17 different kinds of food, I need to know, were they all chicken based? Were some of them based on lamb? Were they fish? Were they, other protein sources? What are the carbohydrate sources? So if you can't help us with that information, we're going to have to work a lot harder and spend a lot more of your money on different trials, different opportunities, different meds, all this stuff. So just kind of keep track. You've got your Chewy order. Go
Yeah.
back and look at everything you've bought and make a list of those things before you get to the vet, and you're not sitting in the exam room, like I said, scrolling through your phone and having your veterinarian go, okay, I've got 3 people waiting,
Right.
while you're trying to figure out if it was chicken or beef that you were feeding the dog. Please help us. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to make this really work better and make your veterinarian a lot happier with you. Well, I mean,
Well,
it's important that you have
have
a
it
great,
build the good relationship, right? Like build the good relationship.
for sure. For sure. And answer the questions when the vet assistant and the receptionist ask them, answer them. Don't say, well, I'm just going to talk to the doctor, because again, that gives us a chance. One of my doctors, before this doctor walks into the exam room, will go to VIN, which is the Veterinary Information Network, and do a quick read through some of these things before this person walks into the exam room, and is better prepared for talking to the client with
Sure.
knowledge. So the more information you can give ahead of that appointment, the more information in the previous record, all those pieces lead to a more efficient diagnosis. And more efficient diagnosis means you save money. And
Yeah.
no one has extra money right now to just say, yeah, whatever. Just I'll spend as much as it takes.
Also,
No one has
PS
that.
insurance, y'all. Just gonna say there is such
Yeah,
a thing as pet health insurance. Pet
there is.
insurance is a thing.
And right, and there's some breeds that just automatically need to have it. There's some breeds you can probably be okay with. But if you have a French bulldog or you have a golden retriever that eats stuff, just get the insurance now so that you don't end up with
Get
all
it when
those
you're a
regrets.
baby puppy. Get it as soon as you bring that dog home. As a baby puppy, it will be less expensive in the long run. So.
Yep. We just had a dog that came to us 8 days after the first GI surgery with another foreign body. 8 days after the first foreign body. It didn't even have the sutures out yet. So, get insurance on these, because most of these things that are pre-existing, they're not going to cover. So if your dog's already eaten a tennis ball,
That's why
it's
you
too late.
start when they're 8 weeks old,
As
before they
baby,
have any pre-existing conditions.
you got it. You can get it as you're leaving the breeder's house. You can be insured.
Yes, Trupanion will help you with that. I promise. So, all right, you guys. Thank you, Marty. We will continue our conversation in the next few
Yeah,
weeks about allergies and
this is
all
going to
of
be
the things that
fun.
you can do. Good times.
Yep.
We love to talk
All
about
right.
dogs that are scratching.
Biting, licking, chewing, itching, scratching.
Scratching.
No itching.
Got it. No itching. All right. Thanks,
All right.
Marty.
Good night.
Hey, friends. Did you know that the Marty and Laura Show website has a special page just for young animal lovers? Whether your child is meeting their first pet or already dreaming of becoming a veterinarian, Kids Corner is a place to explore animals through creativity, curiosity, and age-appropriate learning. Designed for young animal lovers and their families, these resources encourage empathy, responsibility, and a lifelong love of pets. Start off with a free coloring page. That's right. A new coloring page is available regularly. Download one free and check back often for new designs. And if you love that free page, take your coloring adventure further with the 10-page Color Me Pets coloring pack for just $5. Each page is filled with adorable, breed-specific dogs and fun educational prompts that spark creativity and curiosity. This pack is perfect for kids who want to explore, who want to color, and who want to discover more about pets. It encourages careful observation, fine motor skills, and an appreciation for animals, all while providing hours of fun. Plus, it's an easy, printable download, perfect for rainy days, long car rides, or creative play at home. Artwork by award-winning artist Sandy Mesmer the Color Me Canine collection brings even more adorable pets and fun designs. Explore full coloring books available online through Sandy's shop link on our page. Visit martyandlaurashow.com/kids-corner to learn more. Thank you for joining us on the Marty and Laura Show. We're excited to bring you these unique, fun, fact-based conversations about pet health. We hope you'll join us on social. Stop by the website to sign up for an extra tip of the week for your pet. While you're at it, do us a favor, please, and leave a review wherever you find your podcasts. The Marty and Laura Show is produced by Pure Dog Talk, Inc. Sound design and editing by Premium Audio Services.